Hi, it's Kathy from Raven Vintage. I am out at my kitchen table today. My daughter's using my craft room to conduct some virtual meetings and she needed some peace and quiet. I actually have an audience to my left. Today I have an audience of two. They are right to my left, so hopefully they are quiet and well behaved. I wanted to make this video specifically for newbies, like absolute beginners, for someone who is thinking about making junk journals but doesn't quite know where to start, or someone who has attempted to or doesn't even know where to begin. This video is for you. I have a suggestion, and that suggestion is to try some elements that are the elements that make a junk journal, and practice those first before you even think about trying to make an actual junk journal. When you're ready, I do have a video, which I will post up here, about how to make a single signature junk journal, which is this guy right here. And then I have another video about sewing signatures into a junk journal cover. But this is what I want to tell you. You can practice the elements first. And instead of worrying about making an actual junk journal to begin with, let's practice the elements in either just an old book or an old planner or calendar. We could use these pages, or just a composition notebook or a ringed notebook. Anything at all. Grab something, some sort of a, and if you don't have a book, let's just practice these elements on some paper. Use the back of a cereal box, cut a piece out, anything at all. I just want you to practice some of these elements that make a junk journal special, and then you will see how easy those elements are before you even worry about the book itself, okay? I thought maybe if you saw some of the elements and got familiar with those terms and familiar with the special items or elements that make a junk journal special, I think maybe that might be a good approach to come in kind of with that idea rather than worrying about making the journal itself first, okay? So this is an altered book journal. I have journals I make from scratch where I make the covers. I've done box journals, which to me is using a box, like a cracker box or something, or a cereal box. But in this case, this is one of my book of ideas. I have a couple of them. So these are just old books where I've removed some pages to make room. And then inside those books, I try things out, ideas, and this book in particular is from Base Pages PT, the hashtag Base Pages PT, which is for Paper Terrace. She hosted a collaboration where we learned how to do all these things. So this was my book of ideas. So now I keep this to refer to, and when I'm stuck, I need inspiration, I can go there. This is my second book of ideas. This is where I might demonstrate something on a video or a reel, for example. And this is the book I'm using. So it's not necessarily a journal that has a theme or matches. It's just a book I'm using for this purpose. So that is what I wanted to show you today. I'm just going to find a page. We're just going to start here. Doesn't matter. Anywhere in your book. Just find something to work on. So we're going to talk about 5 different elements. To me, there's more, but the 5 things that come to mind to me that make a junk journal, just that, a junk journal, separate from a scrapbook or just a regular notebook or a regular journal or a regular diary, okay? So those 5 elements are pockets, belly bands, flipper fold outs, tuck spots, and tabs. So let's talk about the first one, pockets. So pockets can be made out of paper, they can be made out of lace, fabric. I'm just going to grab a backing sheet here. Start with this one. and just going to give myself a background. You don't even have to, you can do it right on your paper, but I just want to use a background. Pockets can load, a pocket obviously holds something, so think of a pocket on your shirt or a pocket on your jeans, and clearly it has a bottom and two sides that are closed or sewn, and then it has one side that is open. So basically think of the shape, whether it's a square or triangle or whatever it is, but it has one side that is open and the other sides are closed, so that when you put something into the pocket, it doesn't fall out. So I'm just gluing this in here to use as a background. Okay, let me just cut this. Not that it matters, but we're just chatting, so I might as well. So pockets can be top loading, side loading, and by loading I mean the side that of the pocket that you put things into or slide things into. So a pocket can be top loading, side loading. You'll hear those terms. Or it could be a corner tuck. So let's start with a corner pocket. I'm just using something that's a little bit stiff. This is light, very light cardstock. So I'm going to do a couple of pockets with this. I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to cut this off. Okay. So, a corner pocket. You can make it an absolute triangle. I have squared off the top here, but this is what we would call a corner pocket. And essentially what you're doing is you're going to glue these two sides so that you can load something into the pocket here. So very simply, hold the side of the paper that you don't want glue on, then you won't mess up. I want to glue the bottom and this side. And I know that when it's upside down because I'm holding the side that I don't want glued. So basic, so easy. A corner pocket. So now you can slip something into that pocket. It's ready to go, that's done. That's just how simple and easy that is. Now, if you wanted something to go in that pocket that was, say, a little bit thicker, like this little notebook, and that looks like it's not gonna fit, you can gusset the sides of your pocket this way. So you could fold the sides that you're going to glue. So in this case, the side and the bottom. Give yourself a little bit of a fold. And then this here is where you would glue along here and on here, and that would go down on the page. And now you've got room for something thicker if you want to gusset your pockets. You can gusset any pocket you want. And in this case, I'm going to trim these off so they don't show. So sometimes you'll even see printables that have this extra tab on them. That's what that's for. I didn't cut that one quite enough. Still showing. Is so that you can gusset your pockets. I often don't gusset my pockets because I find there's too much room in there, and then things fall out. So I like to most of my pockets are just like this. I didn't without gusseting them. So that's when you see that on a printable, when you see these extra tabs, that's what that's for, is to give you some extra room. Most of the items I slide in might be a journaling card, so that's in there nice and it's not gonna fall out because this is a little tighter to the page without gussets. So you can do them either way. Okay, so speaking of, straighten this out a bit. Just to let you know, I am terrible at cutting straight lines unless I have a guide. Okay, so here is another example of a pocket. So this is a top loading pocket, meaning we're going to load things in from the top, like this. So in this case, you want to glue the sides and the bottom. I don't have any punches out here, but another neat thing to do with these is to do a thumb notch. If I had a circle punch, I would just kind of do a half. That's what we call a thumb notch in a pocket. Okay, so now I know I don't want to glue this side, so that's the side I'm grabbing with my hand. And I'm going to glue these 3 sides. 2 sides and the bottom. Okay, very simple, super easy little pocket. Pockets to me are the #1 thing that makes a junk journal a junk journal. I'm going to save this later for a tuck, which we're going to talk about. And now I want to show you a side loading pocket. This is really not straight. But basically, the side loading pocket, I want to put this right here. And this is the side I don't want to glue. Just flipping it over. I'm going to glue the other 3 sides. Glue that down. So now I have a side loading pocket, meaning that things would stick in from the edge. You can use, it doesn't have to be narrow like this. This could also be called a tuck because it's narrow. You might see people refer to that as a tuck. You could do a full side loading pocket. Let me try an example up here to show you. Of course, this isn't very pretty. I would want to decorate it. This is just cardstock to show you. And again, some sort of a thumb notch or something. But you could glue across the top, this end, and the bottom, and then you could load something in from the side. Like this. All right, that's another example of a side loading pocket. Another way to make pockets is by using an existing item like this little bag. And if I was going to glue this in, I could glue a side, the bottom, a side. So this is glued down on 3 sides. It already is a pocket because it's a bag. But then by only gluing those 3 sides and not gluing the entire back of it, this becomes a pocket as well. Okay, so you've just glued the 3 sides. So now you have a pocket and a pocket. Now, when you have a pocket, you can add a pocket on top of your pocket. You could layer your pockets. So for example, let me cut this. This would be a journaling card, but I'm going to use it for another purpose. So now it's a little bit big. A little bit smaller to fit. I'm going to take this little bit and I'm going to make a very teeny pocket for some very small ephemera. And I'm going to glue it on top of this pocket. Now I have what you would call a layered pocket. And I can put something in here and I can put something in there. So that's a layered pocket. Okay. You can do the same thing on these bottom pockets, over to the side, centered. You could also layer these, all kinds of things. Now, when you have a side pocket like this and you wanted to add some dimension to it, you can glue something down. So just glue this part of the butterfly so things still slide under the butterfly and into the pocket. And in this case, that would just, that part of the butterfly would just hold this down from flopping out. So there's lots of things you can do with pockets. So basically you can use paper, you can use fabric, you can use lace, But basically a pocket is going to hold your tags, all of your notes, your writing papers, your journaling cards, tickets, all your little folded notes, all the things. So we use pockets all the time in our junk journals. Your concert tickets, your photos, they hold basically everything. It's fun to have hidden pockets. It's fun to layer your pockets, decorate your pockets. Quite often we would ink these first, but basically you can have pockets on all your pages. This side pocket could actually be wider and take up the entire side of the page. A big thick band like this, and that could be a side loading pocket. One thing to remember though, the openings of your pocket, if you were doing a side loading pocket here, I would just make sure that when your journal is closed and you're standing it up or turning it or whatever you're doing, try to make sure that your items are not going to fall out. So therefore make sure your openings face the center or the inside, okay? Where was I? There we are. Okay, so pockets. Most definitely, number one, pockets. 900 ways to make pockets. Start experimenting with different shaped pockets on different sides of your page. Try to remember to leave one opening. Hold that spot that you want to be the opening with your fingers when you flip it over to glue it. And if you want a gusseted side for a little more roomy pocket, remember to fold your edges over, and you're not gluing inside here, you're only gluing the fold. Pockets. Okay, now let's talk about belly bands. Again, I'm going to cover my page. So belly bands, basically think of your belt that holds your pants up or trying to think of another example. Belly bands is going to be think of a strip, and you can again use your paper, you can use lace, fabric, something a little bit sturdy though. Belly bands are something you can also layer, you can decorate, but they to me are another wonderful, easy, probably the easiest thing to make in a junk journal. And they can go vertical or they can go horizontal. Okay, so belly bands, like I said, it's basically a strip, and you can go vertical or you can go horizontal. And again, you can gusset the sides by folding over the ends of your strip to make a more roomy belly band, but I most often do not, because I find that things slip right out of your journal, unless of course you're putting in something, like I said, a little bit thicker, like a notebook or something that you wanted room for. So you could gusset your ends, but in this case you could do a belly band vertically or you could do it horizontally. So let's do a horizontal one first. Let's just kind of center these two big little cherubs. So this is going to be my belly band, and you just glue the ends and you leave two sides open. Okay, so now your belly band has room to hold your journaling cards. Now you'll notice I didn't include journaling cards as one of the 5 elements, because to me a journaling card is something that we add as decoration after. It's not really, to me, an element or part of the structure of the journal. But there's your belly band. A belly band can also be vertical. You can go right from the top to the bottom of your page. But I'm just going to show you how you can go vertically with your belly bands. Now here's something. I'm only gluing a very thin strip of glue right there, and that is going to give me all this room from here to here. If you want it to be a little tighter to the page, make your swath of glue a little bit wider. Then there's more of this paper attached to, if there's more surface area attached to your base page, and then it's a little tighter to the page, where this one's a little looser. I don't know if you can tell, but so that goes sideways. So now we can add something to your belly band like that. That's not a good example. I should be using some sort of a paper or something. Maybe you had some note paper or something in the back. Now your belly bands can be decorated, so you can add things to the top of your belly bands. You can also layer your belly bands. So let me get a strip of faux washi here. So for example, I could take this washi. This is not real washi tape, obviously, it's printable. It's actually vintage wallpaper strips. It's one of my kits. And I might as well just say this now. This is one of the reasons I find printables to be actually economical, eco-friendly, because you purchase the file once. So as far as spending goes, it's only a one-time purchase, and then you print as many as you want. Now you don't have to print the entire kit. You might just, like that one page there, for example, with the washi, and you might just print that page over and over and over. So here I'm going to double my belly band with another belly band, a narrow belly band on top of that belly band, so that I could also decorate on top of that, or I could use something under it. And then you get your layer effects. So you can put different, perhaps different butterflies or something, but you can do all that layering. And this is what adds charm, texture, and dimension to your journals. So that's belly bands. So simple. Again, use strips of paper, lace, or fabric glued at two ends, allowing you to slide in journaling cards, tickets, folded notes, whatever you like. So this would be blank on the back, so you can use that as a journaling spot. So you could journal on the back of that and then tuck it back inside here. That to me is another element, belly bands, that makes a junk journal a junk journal. Okay, now let's talk about flips and folds. I'm actually just going to use this page as an example, and I'm going to show you a few ways to do flips or folds. This. Okay. Now a flip or a fold, you also may hear the term tip in. I think they're kind of interchangeable. I think the only difference for me is, and somebody might have a very distinct definition of a tip in versus a fold out, flip up, fold down, flip, tip in, whatever. They're going to flip and fold different directions, but basically it's anything with a hinge that can be flipped out to give you additional writing space, to add layers of dimension. You can also, instead of a hinge, you can use washi tape to create a hinge. So I'm saying that this envelope, coin envelope type of thing, has a hinge already. I'm going to say that this envelope has a hinge already. And then I'm going to take something like this and I'm going to create a hinge. Okay, that's my hinge. So let's demonstrate those. So for example, this layered look here, I want to kind of hide that a bit. So what I'm going to do on this side, I'm going to glue this hinge or the flap of the envelope. I'm going to center this where I want it. Bring the hinge, the edge of the hinge right down to the top of the page, and then fold that over. So that's glued down. Okay, now you can reinforce that with some washi tape if you wanted to, but I'm sure that that's probably fine just like that. And then that is now a flip out or a flip up or a tip in, whatever you want to call it. I'm not arguing with anybody. Now here's something we could do. This we could call just a flip. So we could just tape it right on top here. It doesn't have to be hinged on the edge. We can just trim these up a little bit so they don't show. Like that. And again, I'm just going to glue this back of the hinge. And that's the only part that's getting glued down here. So now there's the flip. So you can write on the back of that, you can write underneath, you can hide something under there. So that to me is a flip, and it's attached to another flip. So you could store something inside that envelope. It's not going anywhere. Now we could similarly use envelopes like this. And you could just glue down here on this side of the envelope, of course. And then this could be a pocket if you had something tall and narrow, like a bookmark or something you wanted to put in there. But I'm actually just going to glue the whole thing down. On the page. Now that can be completely covered. I can cover that hinge right up with another piece of paper and nobody would know. But here now we have a pocket to the side where we can store items. You could also decorate that envelope there. I just like the vintage look of that envelope. I think I would probably leave it, but I think I will decorate the front of it. So let's do a flip up or flip down on this one. And I'm just going to make myself a little, let's just make a little simple type of, like a type of coin envelope, let's say. I'm just throwing terms at you, I know, and you don't need to know them all to make a junk journal, and you don't need to add all of the elements either. But I would say the two basics to start with would be your pockets and your belly bands. Now we're adding flips and text, and we're adding more dimension and more interaction to your journal. Okay, let's just make this into like a little kind of coin envelope. So I'm just going to fold that. Try to center that a little bit if I can. Pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to fold the bottom up, and I'm going to fold the top down. Okay, actually fold that a little. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so open that back up, and basically these four corners, those squares, you want to get rid of those. So basically you just want to cut these off. 1, 2, these as well. That. There we go. Now before you glue that down, if you wanted that sawtooth look like that, you want to get out your pinking shears and cut here to here and then across the top of that, so you would get that look right there. But I'm actually going to just use this as a hinge, so I'm not worried about that right now. And then your bottom closure, same thing. If you wanted to use your pinking shears to get, oops, this sawtooth look, you could do that. But we're not doing that today because my pinking shears aren't out here. But I will mention that you want to take a little bit of a diagonal off of those edges. And now we're ready to glue. So just a very thin band of glue. Oops, that's really crooked. Like that. Keep that closed. I think maybe that I could do a little more glue there. And then the bottom, you can glue that closed now. But I'm actually going to, you would not glue the top. That would be your opening for your top. And angle those a little bit more here. There we go. Okay, so I'm actually going to make this. Just check and see what it looks like on this side. That's fine. And I'm going to do a flip you know what? I'm going to go this way this time. I'm going to go from the bottom. So this flips down, and then you could put something inside that envelope, or yeah, coin envelope. So flips, folds, flip outs, fold downs, flip outs, whatever you want to call them. Basically, it's something with a hinge. And now you can use that pocket. I should demonstrate that. So you can keep something in here, okay? So that stays like that. And then you could also use washi tape to make a hinge. So just demonstrate that with something really small. So you could use washi tape. Let's do it here underneath this way to create a hinge if you didn't have enough room or didn't have so you can put washi tape on one side like this, and this folds out, and then you can put washi tape on the other side like that. So that acts like your hinge, and that's not going anywhere when you do that. Okay, so that is tip-ins, fold-outs, flip-outs, whatever you want to call them. It's basically something that folds out, gives you more writing space, or like underneath there, you could write underneath there. This folds up, we can write on here, plus more storage, plus it's an interactive element to your journal. Very fun. Okay, let's talk about tuck spots. So a tuck spot, similar to a pocket, but not necessarily glued on the 3 sides or 2 sides like a corner pocket. So let's just glue one side of the butterfly here. Let's put them over here. Let's use this letter. So this will be a journaling card. We don't want to glue it down because we want to be able to remove it and write on it and put it back in our journal. So now that's a tuck spot. So he's basically just, and actually I could probably put this guy right under there like that. But that's a tuck spot where you just, something that essentially is a small area, could be you could do like a corner. It's similar to hold down ephemera, or like I said, a journaling card. But basically it's like a pocket, but it's open on more than one side, so at least 2 sides. So here it's open at the bottom, it's open at the top, it's open on this side. I would recommend doing it on a corner where the opening is facing the center, like up here, but I'm out of pages. I'll just do it over here to show you. So in this case, I want this to be open, and it is only open on one side, but it is going to be a corner tuck. That's another example of a tuck spot. So that is glued down into the top corner as opposed to the bottom corner, like a corner pocket. This is technically a corner tuck, but I guess you could also call it a pocket, but I wouldn't call it a pocket because something could fall from the bottom. But if it's in there tight, you can use it like this, like we would call that a corner tuck. Okay, simple. Just all your scrappy pieces that you're using here while you're creating your journal. Okay, just more. So a tuck spot is, again, just basically a small, usually something small. Another thing I like to refer to for tucks is something quite narrow down the side as a tuck spot. So let me just cut this to size. And you could either call this a side pocket, or to me it's called a side tuck. Usually it's a strip, and I would glue it on the side like this, and I would glue top, outside edge, and bottom. So I'm going to hold this side, and to me this is what I call a side tuck. And just glue that to the side. Another reason I really like side tucks, if you have a piece of paper in your journal that's a little fragile, this adds some integrity, stability to the page. So from here, it's a little thicker now. So I do like using side tucks a lot. Again, you can always decorate them. So you can add something where you only glue on here so that it's still accessible underneath. So even though this is narrow, maybe if it was even a more narrow strip, this is still going to hold items because I've added that butterfly to help hold your item, your notes or whatever you're putting in here down. Oh, terrible. Don't follow me for cutting straight lines because I'll lead you astray. So something like that. And what if you had a note you wanted to tuck in here as well? So that just kind of keeps it on. Then we again can start adding those layers and all those dimensional things that make junk journals so interesting. Making a mess here. Okay, what else are we gonna do? Okay, so we've gone over pockets, belly bands, flip and fold outs. We'll just call those flips, keep it short, and tuck spots. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about is tabs. That's these guys here on the edge of your book that make your journal, give it more dimension and pieces of interest. And actually they're practical too, because you might want to be able to flip to that section. One thing I would recommend is if you have, for example, if you had 3 signatures in a journal, I would recommend spreading out your tabs so that there's at least 1 tab in each signature. So I have 3 signatures. I would maybe add a tab to this, somewhere in this signature, maybe at the top. And then in your second signature, somewhere, one of those pages, add it to the middle. And then in your last signature, add your tab to the bottom so that they are staggered nicely. Kind of like what I've done here. So there's this butterfly, there's that, and then there's this. So they're staggered. They're not throughout the journal this way, but they are staggered height-wise, but you also want to spread them out evenly across the width of your journal. Okay, so tabs can be made out of lace. They can be made out of paper. Here, for example, I've done little lace tabs on tags so that you wouldn't know they were in there if something wasn't sticking out. So I have like a double pocket here, behind here, which you can't see, but there is a divider right here. It's glued down. So this one can only go back and forth there. So that's why I added the lace to the top of those tags. So it indicated that there was something to pull out, but they also stick out the side of the page a little bit. So they kind of act like a tab. So that's using lace. Here I've done I've just cut, actually this came off of the paper from this package of butterflies. It came from the dollar store. I actually just cut a piece of the cardstock or the box board that it came with and made a tab. And then here I just made a cluster for a tab. Here I just use actually one of the butterflies as the tab. Now he might not be great because his little leg might get wrecked there. But yes, using, let me just cut this real quick. It's great to use product packaging whenever you can. But if that could stick out, that's not a really great example, but you could just glue a tab on like that. Now your tabs can be on just glued to one side. But if you don't like the white part showing on the back, you can fold your tab in half so that it is glued on both sides of the page. Here, this just, I made a little cluster effect with folding paper for a tab. So again, tabs can be made of fabric, clusters, paper, lace, all kinds of things that stick out just to the edge to give some dimension. It's really lovely to see multiple tabs, especially fabric ones. If they're soft, I love that. So you can add all kinds of tabs to your journals. Okay, So we've reviewed pockets, belly bands, flips, tuck spots, and tabs. So those 5 things to me are elements, part of the structure of the journal that make a junk journal what it is, that give it that junk journal charm. It's interactive, it has dimension, texture, layers, different papers. And then after I've done all my structure work to my journal, that's when I like to go back and decorate and then add all the tuck cards, the journaling cards, all of the little decorative bits. So see, this is a multi-pocket. It's another pocket I didn't discuss. But there, if you don't follow me on Instagram, I have a lot of reels that demonstrate some of these projects quickly within a minute or under or so. And then sometimes, if anyone requests it especially, but I will go and do a YouTube video and do it in real time so you can see how I do it. This page here is a really good example of multiple elements. So we have a corner pocket down here. We have a belly band, tags. To me, like journaling cards, that's something I didn't discuss yet because that would be the next video for beginners of what to add to your junk journal, but they're not structural elements. But belly band, corner pocket. Down here I have a little envelope which acts like a pocket, and then I've only glued the 3 sides, so it actually is a pocket there as well. And then up there is a corner tuck. So there are some elements of that we just reviewed. And this is another kind of fun pocket with folded paper. So there's the pocket, there's a pocket, there's a pocket, and then this is a pocket. So once you get used to doing all these elements, like I said, practice in your notebooks and in your composition books, and use what you have. For example, we like to use packaging from our food products. So this is from a box of frozen hamburgers, so you can cut that out and use that as a card pocket. You could cut that right there and make that into a pocket. You can tell I'm from Canada. Right? But let's just demonstrate how you could use this. Is good box board, so it's nice and thick. But just eyeball that and measure it to the width of your page. Trim this up a little better. But this would make a really good pocket because it's good and thick. Not too wide. Might be okay, so let's add that to a page. Let's find a page right here. So that would make a pocket. So there, you didn't even have to decorate anything. You just, again, hold the spot that you don't want glued, glue the other 3 sides, and boom, you have a pocket. So go check your recycle bin for items you could use. There, simple, easy, pocket, done. Like I said, I used this. So from the dollar store, this package of die cut butterflies. I'm going to cut that out and use that as a journaling card. But make use of all your recycled items. Upcycling items like this, that's another thing that gives a junk journal charm and the reasons we like to use it. But yeah, and then you can also start cutting out your letters, and there's so many things you can do. But I might even just cut out. Some people do like their life journaling, like what they did that week, and do a whole page spread. When we're talking about a spread, we're talking about this and these 2 pages together opened up. So usually this page and this page kind of go together. So that's what we call a journal spread. There we go. It doesn't take long. So there, I just used packaging from a hamburger box, something from the dollar store, and a box of cans of pop, or soda. You might call it soda. We call it pop, but soda pop. yeah, it's not, that's another story for another day. So there, 5 elements. And like I said, just practice in the books that you have. Don't worry about making a junk journal itself, but just use a notebook or an old planner. You can glue right over top of these pages. You can use an old book like I did. You can use a composition book like this one, but it's a good practice book. So there you are. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.